Hello my loves and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and today we are doing July's reading wrap up. I've had a really solid reading month. I'm really happy with how it all went. So grab yourselves a beverage, let me know what some of your favourite reads of the month were, and let's just get straight into it. Starting off with the 2-year-long reading challenges that I'm taking part in. The first one, of course, we have to mention is Rainy's series Takedown. If you don't know what this is, it is a bingo board where each prompt is designed to get you to continue some of those series that you've been putting off for a while. Now, I haven't actually fulfilled a square for this one. It's the first month this year where I haven't fulfilled one, but I have done preparation to fulfill 2 squares. So in the month of June, I did do a buddy read with Danny for 9th Reign, and this one is going to be fulfilling the square of TBR Veteran when I've read that second book. Because this was a reread, I'm not counting rereads as part of this series, but I needed to reread it to be able to continue. We're going to be reading the second book, The Bitter Twins, in September, so in September's wrap up, we should have that square fulfilled, and that would be great. So it needed to be done. Progress was made, even if we haven't actually ticked off a square yet. I'd been putting off the last few squares of this challenge because of the fact that I would have to reread a few books, so I knew it was going to take me a little bit longer. And the same with Intimidating series. I've recently reread Jade City. This is going to be coming out in a video soon, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But this is a series that has been intimidating me for a while. I've been putting off continuing it for ages. And then there was a thing that happened that's caused me to actually read it. Yeah, that happened. By the time this video is actually live, I should have already finished the second book, which is going to work for that Intimidating series square. But as of right now, I haven't. I've started reading it. It's a good time. Okay, it's a good time. But yeah, that's what I'm going to use for that. And then that leaves me with 2 squares, which is Questionable series. I know the series I want to use for this, but again, I need to reread the first book, which I just still haven't got round to doing just yet. And then that last one, the indie published series, I know what book it is. I don't need to reread anything for it. I just keep forgetting to continue on. I think because I've been so used to reading these books in December that I've been kind of putting it off, so I'll probably get to it around November time is what I'm thinking. But you know, no actual squares have been ticked off, but progress has been made, so it counts. And then we have Our Fantasy, which I've been loving this. My first year taking part, I've really been enjoying it, and this month I made progress with 2 squares. The first one is actually the very first square on the board, which is Knights and Paladins, and I used Paladin's Strength. Oh, this is so good. I love this so much. Oh, it was a brilliant, brilliant book. I had so much fun with this one. And then the next square that I did is published in 2025, and for this one I went with The Butcher's Daughter. Again, another amazing read. I had such a good time. I had 2 5-star reads this month. It's been that good a month. I'm so I think it's the first month where I've had 2 5-star reads. It's been a good month, so that's good. Progress on there. I'm quite happy just slowly chipping away at this. I have until the end of March next year, so we've got plenty of time, and then watch me scramble at the end of the year trying to fulfill everything. But yeah, we've done good progress, so I'm happy with that. I'm gonna get straight into the statistics. Books read this month was 11. I'm so happy with this. Like, this is my happiest place. I want to be reading about 10 to 11 books a month. That is where I'm comfortable with. Going above that, it tends to kind of like not so much stress me out, but I feel like I haven't sat with the books that I've been reading. Like, I have time where I could be reading more books than just 10 or 11 a month. I really, really could. But I find that I feel like I start rushing the reads rather than enjoying the read. And so for me, you know, yes, I could read so many more books a month, but it's also got to be about what I'm enjoying doing. And, you know, I have other hobbies that I like doing as well. So it's been nice to just balance out my reading. So yeah, 11. Now, there are always going to be some months where this goes up a little bit for like the Relax and Readathon, when we have that happening, because it's a 24-hour readathon, or if there are other readathons that I'm taking part in that requires a bit more reading. But this I'm comfortable with, so I'm very happy with that. Then books hauled, so that was 10. It's quite a lot. I have made a decision though that I think I'm going to be closing my wish list for a while, because I've been finding the books that I personally bring in is less. So I'm going to do that, I think, for the rest of the year. Which isn't that many months, but I think that's my idea. Translated books was 1, which, you know what, being consistent, I've still had 1. Format, this is the biggest change for me, because I've had 10 physical books and 1 ebook. Now normally ebooks tend to at least be around the 4 mark, but it was 10, and I'm really happy with that because that means I've read 10 books off of my shelf. Alright, apart from 1 because it was a new release, but 2 because anyway, point is it was a really good amount. I'm really happy with that. I also think Shop My Shelves is really helping with getting books read off of my shelves, so I'm really happy with that number. DNFs 3, we're back up to 3. That's been my average for the year, although we did have 2 months where I only DNF'd 1 book, but we're back up to 3. And then rereads is 2. I've already spoke about those, so that was really good. Okay, overall I think the general stats, good, really happy. I'm really you can tell, okay, I've had a really good reader month. I feel so happy with it. But then we're going to go into the genre stats, and cozy books is only 1. Again, like, I still like cozy books. I'm actually in the middle of a cozy sci-fi. I'm going to be reading a cozy fantasy in August for the Discord book club. Like, I do like them. Fantasy though, fantasy's creeping back up. Fantasy is back up to 5, and that is because I am over my fantasy reading slump, and it feels so good. This slump lasted such a long time. It was at least a year where I was just not feeling reading fantasy. Like, certain books, yes, certain authors, sure, but other than that, I just really wasn't that interested, and now I feel like I'm fully back into it, and it feels so good, because fantasy is like my first love. Well, actually no, that's not quite true. I would say gothic books are, but fantasy has been such a big part for quite a few years. That was all I was primarily reading. Like, I'd read fantasy and then sprinkle in some gothic book, and now it just feels nice that I've got fantasy creeping back up. Sci-fi was 0. And then horror was 3, and this is where I kind of want it to be. I want it to be a nice balance between fantasy books and horror books, because those are where I really love it. If I can get some cozy fantasy in, great. Cozy is just kind of petering out, but I think cozy picked up the fantasy for me when I was in that fantasy reading slump, and now I'm back into my fantasy. I do think cozy is going to settle down a little bit. But that's fine, you know, I find reading, it ebbs and flows with your mood, of what you're into and stuff. I'm always impressed by the people that can just stay dedicated to one genre the whole time. Unfortunately, I'm not that person. Anyway, moving on. Mystery is 0. I'm kind of upset with this. I actually ended up DNFing 2 mystery books, and I feel so upset with it. Really hoping that August is the month to get me back into cozy mysteries, or just mysteries in general, because I think autumn, end of summer, going into autumn is like the perfect time for mystery books, so fingers crossed that's going to be on the up. Thriller, we had 1. Romance was 1. Classic was 1. And other was 1. Other is normally things like manga. So yeah, not too bad. Overall, pretty happy with that. It shows my reading taste, how we're changing and stuff. But okay, let's get into all of the books. So we're going to start off with the 3 DNFs. I'm going to do the ebook, no, it was an audiobook, Discord book club pick for the month, which was Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I DNF'd this audiobook. I didn't get that far into it. I did try again, so I did do a video dedicated to the Discord book club picks, so I'd fallen a little bit behind. In that book, I had DNF'd quite early on. I think I got to like chapter 3 or 4 of the audiobook, and then I DNF'd. But I did try again because I then read the webtoon and I preferred it. I talk about that more in that video, but definitely I think the formatting for me, I would rather this be an anime series or a webtoon graphic novel, something like that, because I prefer that than actually listening to this one. But I liked that, and then I thought, okay, maybe I was just a little bit too harsh with this, so I'm going to try the audiobook again. DNF'd after a couple of chapters because it's 2 things. One, I don't actually like the audiobook. It felt like I was just being shouted at the whole time, and you know, I'm a difficult person with audiobooks anyway. I've said it many times. Audiobooks are fine for rereads, they are fine for classics. Otherwise, I'm really fussy, and I find it really hard to pay attention to them. So I do try, but it's not my favourite method of reading. I find that I'm a lot more engrossed if I read it physically. However, I couldn't find a copy of this book at my library, and I refused to pay for a copy of this book because, I mean, I'd already tried the audiobook, didn't really like it, knew that this was the sort of story that I wanted to read. I mentioned it in the video that I did for this one, but like Solo Leveling, where I'm reading the manhwa, yes, that I could do for this series. Otherwise, no, it's just not my kind of preferred formatting for this book. It's a shame it didn't really work. I know so many people absolutely love this one, and it really went down well on Discord. A couple of people didn't love it, but you know, overall it was a really solid hit. It's been doing the rounds here on BookTube. Loads of people seem to be enjoying it. I just personally didn't, but I don't like to harper on too much about negative things. We're gonna move on. The other two DNFs are two cozy mysteries, and I'm so upset about this. So one of them is Mirror Lake. This was for episode 2 of Shop My Shelves. This is a cozy mystery. It's the third book in the Shady Hollow series. Unfortunately, this really, I don't think it should be called a cozy murder mystery series because the mysteries are so easy to solve that this is just more of a vibe-based book. If you are after just a cozy vibe time, then yes, pick up this series. But I think apart from that first mystery in the first book, since then, the mysteries have really taken a backseat, and so this just wasn't what I was in the mood for at the time. This is like a more of a soft DNF. I will probably get back to it at some point when I'm in the mood for this sort of book. Definitely when the seasons are right, because the way the seasons are described in this book are perfect, so I really think it's good for that. But yeah, it's not been my favourite to continue on with in terms of the mystery plotline. So saying it's like a mystery series, yes, there is a different murder happening in each of the books, but they're so easy to solve that that's not really why you're reading them, at least for me. So that's how I found that one. And then we have Puzzle Me a Murder. This one I'm not going to talk about too much because it's actually going to be part of a Patreon exclusive video. This was put into the Patreon TBR jar. If you don't know, I do have a Patreon. The top tier Patreons get to have access to my physical TBR, and they can tell me to put as many books as they want into this jar, which I then put out one per month. They get an exclusive video. I had fallen behind. They wanted a catch-up video where I just caught up with a few of them. This was one of them, and yeah, it was a DNF. Okay, so that's those out of the way. Then the one ebook I read for the month, and oh, it was good, and that's Bat Eater by Kylie Baker. This was so good. Oh, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I actually think I might be doing a reread of this really soon. We're in the middle of voting for September's book club for over on Discord. So if you don't know, Discord, I have a monthly book club that I host over there. Currently the voting is quite fierce. We've got 2 books that are really close, and one of them is Bat Eater, and this one's winning by like 1 vote. So I could be rereading it, which is absolutely fine to me because I'd love to get a physical copy and actually annotate this book, because as much as I'm not a massive fan of this cover, it's so worth having a book for my shelves, and I would love to annotate it. So yeah, this was amazing. I ended up settling on a 4.75. This is such a heartbreaking story, but it is so honest and raw, and it's so well done. So this is set during COVID. We're following Cora, and Cora's sister was murdered right in front of her eyes. She becomes a crime scene cleaner, and as she's cleaning up different crimes, she realizes that there is a spike of people being murdered that are Asian, and a few of them are being left with bats behind on the scene, and police aren't really paying attention to it. It's really highlighting the absolute awful racism that happened because of COVID, and it was like almost like it was an excuse for people to start being overtly racist to Asian people, blaming Chinese people for COVID and just the atrociousness of it all. And we have Cora dealing with all of that racism. She's also dealing with the fact that she's Chinese American, so she feels very like conflicted between the two cultures. She doesn't feel like she fully fits into one or the other. I feel like that was explored really well. We then get more about Chinese lore around ghosts, hungry ghosts, things like this. So that's a big part of this book. Like, there's so much to unpack about this book. It's fantastic. 4.75. Honestly, probably upon reread, I feel like it can get that 5-star, which is hilarious because if you watch the video where I'm reading this in, which is Summerween, which is that out before this or after this? I'm not sure. But I loved this, but I did go through a point where I'm like, I really like this, but I'm not getting the hype. And then I finished it and I was like, oh, I get the hype. This was fantastic. Another book I read for Summerween is Not Quite Dead Yet. Ah, loved it. 5 stars, made me cry. Was absolutely amazing. I adored this book. I adored it so freaking much. So yeah, I loved it. I love this book so much. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a little bit unbelievable, but it gets that 5 stars because it made me cry. In reality, I think, you know, it probably is more of like a 4.25 in terms of like the writing and the plotting and stuff, but the fact that it made me cry, it is the first book to make me cry this year, it just gets that 5 stars. I was so fully invested. So we're following our main character, Jet, and Jet, she is attacked on Halloween, so this was perfect to read for Summerween. It was great. And she suffers a really bad injury to the head, and she is warned that they can do an operation, but there's a 90% chance that she'll die on the operating table, or she's got like 7 days before they think a major aneurysm's going to happen, ending her life. She decides to go for that 7 days and decides to try and solve her murder. Who did this to her? And that's what you're following. It is a messy time. There is messy drama, family drama going on, like it is a whole thing, and I really enjoyed it, and I do think the ending kind of tied up a few things really well. So yeah, I loved this. This was fantastic. I had such a good time. I had like little post-it notes of theories. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, I was putting in like little post-it notes of theories that I thought was happening and stuff. Like, I had such a good time with this book. I always do with Holly Jackson anyway. This was fantastic. One of my 5-star reads for the year. We'll continue with Summerween. I also read Promised Neverland Volume 6. This is one of my favourite manga series. I love reading this. I only read it slowly because honestly manga is expensive. Yes, I can get it from my library, but my library actually isn't good for stocking manga. Like they're really not good for it. I don't know what it is about here in the UK, but I struggle with it. So I tend to have to purchase a copy. I could read it online, but I don't actually like doing that. So I take my time. I think I probably buy about 6 volumes of manga a year because they are a bit more pricey. So I read it slowly, but I love it. This one, we're in an orphanage, and you know, children think everything's fine until they realise what it actually means to be adopted, and it's dark. But I love this, and I really enjoyed this one with some of the revelations that we had in this book. I thought it was a really, really good time, so really enjoyed that. This one is also counting as my translated book for the month, which, you know, it always kind of bugs me when I haven't read a translated novel for the month. That's something we are going to continue working on. I've dropped off the ball a little bit with that. I need to get back on it, but yeah, this was good. And then also for Summerween, I read Orpheus Builds a Girl by Heather Parry, and this is a book I feel so conflicted about because I hated this for good reason, because you're meant to. This is a story about Lucy, except you never get Lucy's perspective. Instead, we get it from this disgusting man called Wilhelm and then her sister Gabriella. It takes turns in chapters on whose perspective we're following, and it is the slowest book ever at the start. Like, I do think that could have been edited down because that was a really big struggle to get through. However, if you really focus in and kind of read between the lines of what's going on, you realise these things, and there is just that mounting sense of dread and disgust around Wilhelm and what he's doing. And Gabriella, like, she's fine, but I feel like she was the wrong perspective to have. I feel like we should have had Lucy's perspective. Oh, did I say 4 stars? I tend to always give manga around 4 stars. But yeah, I just feel like Lucy never felt like a real person, and because of the atrocious things that happened to her, I feel like it would have been so much more impactful if we had gotten her perspective. Now, I am in the minority. Loads of people seem to love this book. It's got a really high rating on Storygraph. It was very slow, so I really struggled to get into it. I was really close to DNF in this book a couple of times, and I finished it, and it's one of those ones where I'm like, I don't know if I needed to finish this book, because I'm angry. I think the message in it is really good, and I'm angry with everything that happened, and you're meant to be angry, but at the same time I don't know. I did annotate this one. There is so much you can take from it, so I've been kind of settling on like a 3.25. My sister wants to read this book, so I'm going to be bringing it down when I see her in September, but there was a lot to unpack about this book, and I'm still unsure of where I actually feel with my emotions for this one, which I think Summerween's coming out just before this video. That video, which I did Summerween late, but I had great fun with it. So yeah, this one was a conflicting feeling book for me. Now, shall we go? I don't know what to do next, actually. We'll move on to another video that I did, which was the Patreon pick for the month, and they wanted me to do a vlog around Bury Albones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab, the new V. Schwab book. I had such high hopes for this one. Initially, when I finished it, I gave it like a 4.75. Since then, it's kind of dropped to like a 4.5. I really wanted to love this book, but I feel like the premise of what it was doing didn't actually land for what was said. It was said that it was a toxic vampire lesbian story, and yes, we've got the vampires, yes, there is some toxicity, but I feel like the way this book was done, I couldn't fully connect to. I feel like, so this book, we've got 3 different perspectives, but two of the perspectives you only get halfway in the book. So like, you get one perspective at the first half of the book, and then the next perspective at the second half of the book, and then you get the third perspective, which you get all the way through the book. I wish we had actually got that slightly different. The first perspective we need that at the start. So that perspective is Maria. Her perspective makes sense that she's the first one that we get, but as we get a little bit of the way through the book, we then should have that second perspective that we only get in the second half of the book further on. I feel like that would have been so much more impactful to have all three of these perspectives intertwining properly, because I felt a little bit disconnected. So that was a little bit frustrating. It's also rather slow, which that's fine. I think if we had had the perspectives more woven in throughout each other rather than one in one half, one in the second half, I feel like it wouldn't have felt so slow. I feel like there would have been more going on. I feel like you also would have seen the toxicity represented a little bit better, but instead we don't get that. It's a shame because I think there's a lot of potential with this book. I still really enjoyed it though. This is the thing that I was going for. Like, I still enjoyed this book, but there were points where I was finding it a little bit of a struggle. I still like it because it's V. Schwab. I do like V. Schwab's writing, but I do think that this was not the strongest, that it could have been so much stronger. And I do think the ending was just a little bit too convenient. So I think the toxicity side of things could have been better woven in, which then that tagline of toxic lesbian vampires would have worked better. But instead it didn't. You saw it, yes, it was there, but it just felt very slow to get to those things, and I still liked it. But I would say this is more like a 4.25 to a 4.5 rather than that 4.75, which is disappointing because I did think this was going to get 5 stars. But the book that I did give 5 stars in that video is The Butcher's Daughter. I loved this one. So this is by David Jamuck and Corinne Lee Clark. I loved this. This is a tale of Mrs. Lovett, her childhood. She's exchanging these letters, and she's currently hiding in a convent, and then she's telling her tale from when she was a young child to how she became the person that was cooking people into meat pies and selling them. And it's fantastic. Okay, I love this. It's all done in epistolary format and it just works. You do not know if you can actually trust what she's saying. Things get really unhinged. There's a lot of body horror going on in this book, but it was brilliant. Okay, I really enjoyed this one. I think it is really underrated. I loved it. I was lucky enough to be sent this one by the publisher, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Enjoyed how we've taken this tale, which started off as like a penny dreadful, and have actually done a retelling around it, because I feel like a lot of people know more about the Demon Barber on Fleet Street than they do Mrs. Lovett, but actually those two were tied so closely together. And in this book you do see Sweeney Todd, but he's not the main focus of this book, and I really enjoy that. I really love how Mrs. Lovett is the focus, and the direction that this all went was just brilliant. So yeah, 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. And the other video I did for the month was Shop My Shelves. That was across 2 different episodes, and wow, 2 different parts. It was a really long video. I had to split it into parts. I was taking part in Rainy's readathon. It was so much fun. I did DNF that one book, as I've already mentioned, but I did read 2 other books for it. The first one was Paladin's Strength. I love this book. This is the second book in the Saints of Steel series, but like 5th book in the overarching Temple of the White Rat series, and I loved this. Okay, it was really good. It's not my favourite. I actually preferred Paladin's Grace to Paladin's Strength, but I'm very excited for Paladin's Hope, which is the next book after this, which I'm actually going to be reading in the month of August, and I think that one has the potential to be 5 stars. This one I still enjoyed though. We're following our Paladin Istvan, and we've got a nun called Clara, and she has a secret. But she is on the hunt trying to track down the other nuns because their nunnery was ransacked by these people and they were kidnapped. Clara managed to escape, but she got really ill, and she's now been on the hunt to try and get her fellow nuns back, and Istvan decides to join her with this. I really like it. So the way these books are working, they're like a fantasy rom-com with a little bit of like mystery darkness added in, and it works. So it works in the sense of like a romance series where you've got each book we're following a different couple. They will kind of connect on from one another and continue, and I have so much fun with it. This is so fun and silly, and I just have a grand old time with it. So yeah, this one ended up being 4 stars. It was fine. It reminded me a lot of Sword Heart, but I preferred Sword Heart, although we do get a crossover with one of the characters, which I love. It's still a 4-star read. It's T. Kingfisher. I still love it. It's great. For that episode, I also read Marie Brennan's Midnight Never Come, and I really enjoyed this. This is the start of a new series. It is a historical fantasy set in the period of Queen Elizabeth I, and we also have a fairy court. So we have the fairy court underneath London, and I loved it. I loved how this tied in fairy tale English folklore. We also have mentions of other folklore around the world, but the primary we're focused on is English fairy tale and folklore, and the Fae, because obviously it's set in London, and I loved it. I loved the true representation. This court is called the Onyx Court, really reminded me of the Unseelie Court, which if you're caught up on fairy folklore, then you probably know what that is. Yeah, it was so good. It blended what I love. So I have always been fascinated with the Fae and folklore of our stories, like I've always enjoyed it, and so this blended that really well into a little bit of a fantasy. Now it's a slow book, okay, this is a really slow one. It's more focused on, my memory card got full, so I don't actually know where I stopped, but we've got two different perspectives in this. We've got Devon, who is a human. He is part of the Queen Elizabeth's court. He's trying to rise up in prestige, trying to make a name for himself. And then we have Lady Lune, who is a part of the Onyx Court, and again, she is also trying to raise up in prestige and stuff. However, her court is a lot more cutthroat and dangerous, and we have these two crossing over. It's a lot about politics. We uncover this bargain that the two queens made that is causing a bit of strife on both sides, and Lady Lune and Devon end up having to work together to try and work things out. It's really good. It is slow. I ended up giving this a 3.75. I enjoyed this one a lot though. Like, it was really comforting to me. This is the sort of like classic comfort fantasy that I really like. It's slow moving. It's not really high paced and fast, but it has that blend of historical set with the fairy tale folklore that I just really, really enjoyed. So for me, this is the sort of book I want. Now it is a 4-book series. I don't own the second book, but I do own 3 and 4. This is a book that you could just read as a standalone. And it's one of those ones that I will probably continue, but it's going to be a slow one, maybe like 1 per year or something like that, because it is just one of those slow moving comfort fantasies for me, and I'm really, really pleased. Like, Marie Brennan is kind of like a favourite author of mine. I really enjoy their work, and while this one isn't as strong as the Lady Trent series by any means, I still really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the world. I think that was the thing that I enjoyed most, is that blend of the fairy tale stuff, more like fae folklore, blended into the Queen Elizabeth court. Like, it worked really, really well. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was just easy, comforting fantasy book to read, and it worked for that. Like, I wasn't at any point really shocked and surprised at twists and turns and things, because it's not that sort of book, but it was just good. It was just a good, enjoyable time. So yeah, that was nice. I enjoyed it. Okay, then we go on to the rereads. So I did reread Ninth Reign with Danny. This was so good. I really enjoyed my reread. I ended up giving it a 4.5. And I'm just, I enjoyed it. Okay, this was so good. I can't believe I haven't continued on with the series. I first read this one about 3 years ago. Really, really enjoyed it. This one is such a unique, underrated fantasy, I feel like. So we're in a world where there are elves, but their tree god that gave them long life and things like that has died, and they now use human blood to survive. So they've basically turned into vampiric elves, but their society, like, is all dying out. There's hardly any of them left, and this happened after the 8th reign. So what happens is, like, there's this big war, and each time they call it a reign, and it's these worm people that come onto the planet to basically try and annihilate and take over everything. The elves have always been the ones that have pushed them back, and for whatever reason this 8th reign went really wrong, and now, while they did win, they have suffered such catastrophic casualties that if there was another reign, it's dangerous times. We also have a witch that we follow. So, I should say, we do actually follow an Eborian, the vampire elves. He's so much fun. I really enjoy him as a character. And we also follow a witch called Noon, and witches in this world, they're kept in this like winery. They're really treated poorly. They have this fire power, and yeah, it's atrocious conditions. There's so much you can pull apart on that about society, women having power, etc. It's atrocious, but Noon manages to escape, and she joins up with Tor and also Vintage. Vintage is a human, but she has an innate desire to keep learning about the worm people, find out what's happening, because their world's also been corrupted by worm people. things keep getting infected. There's so many things to this world. It is so well done. It doesn't feel info dumpy at any point. It just feels like we get the information that we need done in a really good way. And we have this story where Vintage, Tor and Noon are all together and they find out something really important about the worm people, and it's a whole thing. It's so good. The ending is amazing. I cannot wait to continue. Me and Danny will be reading this every other month and I loved it. This was such a good book. I can't believe I put it off. But again, hitting that fantasy reading slump really screwed me over for a few series that I started but then never continued, which is also like Jade City, which I'm not going to go into because the video for this one won't be out by the time this comes up. Let me check. Yep, no, it's due out after this one. So I'm actually not going to talk too much about it, except to say I gave this book a 4.25 and I'm looking forward to continuing on. That is it. Those are all the books that I read in the month of July. I had a really strong reading month. I'm really pleased with the variety that I read. It's a shame that I DNF'd the 2 cozy mysteries because I feel like that would have just been the icing on the cake for this reading month for how well it's gone. But you know, it happens. But thank you so much for listening to me natter on about all the books that I read in the month of July. Please let me know what some of your favourite books to read in the month were. Did you have any surprises, disappointments? Let me know. But yeah, this has gone really well. I'm really happy with what I have read and I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far and just don't know what to comment, then okay, there's pumpkins on display. Leave a pumpkin in the comment below if you've made it this far and just don't have anything to comment. Again, a massive thank you to everyone that takes the time to watch these videos, whether you comment or just silently watch. An extra special thank you goes out to all of my patrons for your continued support over there. I have enjoyed it so much, so thank you, thank you. That's it. So if you have enjoyed this video, then please do consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribing and commenting. Those 3 things really help this channel out. My social media links, anyone I've mentioned, Patreon, Discord, everything will always be linked below for you. And I will of course catch you in the very next video.